Net neutrality.
Net neutrality.
Net neutrality.
Net neutrality. Net neutrality.
Net neutrality. Net neutrality.
Network neutrality.
Net neutrality. Every time you sit down in front of a monitor and throw up a browser to check your email, even if you're paying for that service, you're taking a lot for granted. At this given point in time, we simply assume we'll be able to bring up any site we want and whenever we want, at the fastest speed the server on the other end can deliver. We don't have to think about whether the site we're about to view is a corporate-owned website or if it's by a friend who's updating via a local coffee place. We just view it. We watch videos on a multitude of different providers, use image and social networking services, share media, and connect with millions of people anytime we want to. Isn't it beautiful? That's rhetoric. Of course it's beautiful, and it's called network neutrality. Let's talk a little more about what net neutrality actually is. It's a founding principle of the internet for starters. It's what has governed the transmission of data over the internet up to this point. Put simply, net neutrality means the internet should be non-discriminatory to all of its traffic. As such, companies providing you with an internet service should simply provide you with an access to data, any and all data, without restrictions. Network neutrality basically means that the network provider's only job is to move data, and definitely not choose which data and speed privileges you have. Tim Berners-Lee, the creator of the World Wide Web, gave this example. The market system depends on the rule that you can't photocopy money. Democracy depends on freedom of speech. Freedom of connection without any application to any party is the fundamental social basis of the internet, and now the society based on it. The whole controversy that surrounds network neutrality is about how the internet will function in the near future. The topic has gained much attention this past year since experts suggest that the internet may not be a neutral playground as close as 2012. Some of Canada's largest telecommunication companies have already deviated from this fundamental principle of neutrality. Restrictions on your peer-to-peer file sharing is usually what's called internet throttling. Bell, Canada's largest internet service provider, has admitted in November 2007 that it purposely slows down its high-speed DSL, especially for torrents and other P2P software. The most famous example of non-neutrality in Canada occurred during the TELUS labor dispute. TELUS admitted to blocking access to a pro-union site by restricting the server on which it was hosted. Researchers at Harvard, Cambridge, and the University of Toronto found that TELUS's actions resulted in an additional 766 unrelated sites also being blocked for their subscribers. The telecommunication giants in the United States like AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, and Time Warner are the ones pushing to eradicate net neutrality. Fintan Cerf, the co-creator of IP Protocol and currently the chief internet evangelist at Google, states that they all want to be internet gatekeepers, deciding which websites go fast or slow and which won't load at all. They want to tax content providers to guarantee speedy delivery of their data to discriminate in favor of their own search engines, internet phone services, and streaming video, while slowing down and blocking their competitors altogether. The internet was designed with no gatekeepers over new content or services. Allowing broadband carriers to control what people see and do online would fundamentally undermine the principles that have made the internet such a success. Imagine only having access to Google search by becoming a Rogers customer. Net neutrality has helped make the internet industry a huge success in Canada too. Companies have thrived on the opportunity for innovation. Citizens are getting involved more democratically and of course voicing their opinions through blogs and other means of free speech. Without net neutrality, the traffic would become even more unequal in a very competitive market, and many of the web applications we've come to love and trust would never have been discovered. Without the level playing field that net neutrality offers, the internet will fall into the same unfortunate fate that radio and cable television have been victim to before: corporate domination. If corporations are given the position to control the information that travels over our internet, they'll cut restrictive deals with the highest bidding websites, essentially partnering up and leaving innovators out in the rain. Networks will create the sites and sell internet packages, much like digital cable. In a neutral net, it is the people's medium, and the users of the internet have the power to choose which applications will be successful. The best of the best will rise to the top. Net neutrality is not a new concept either. Think of the electricity everyone uses, railways and public roads everyone travels on, and the telephone calls and text messages they make to one another all the time. These are all great examples of highly successful neutral networks. Net neutrality is the latest instance of the basic legal and engineering principle known as the common carriage, which is a concept over 125 years old and has been a cornerstone of Canada's telecommunications infrastructure. Let's talk about what the main problems are. Currently, Canada's telecommunications laws prohibit data discrimination and interference of internet content by carriers, but these laws would not prevent an ISP from offering a two-tiered service to content providers, thus prioritizing certain data over others. Those with more money would get themselves a slot in the fast lane, while everyday innovators and inventors and other internet content providers would have to settle for what we have now. Another problem is ISP traffic shaping, or throttling and capping. This is when ISPs slow down peer-to-peer software in order to make way for other data they've prioritized in an overly and obviously congested network. The Web 2.0 movement would be over as we know it, as many of these startups rely on the fact that developing for the internet costs nothing but the man-hours put into it. Small companies that are trying to plant their feet firmly in the big world of the internet would have the carpet yanked out from underneath them. Your local shops would no longer have a strong web presence. Entrepreneurs, independent media, and the regular content producers like you and me would be pushed off to the back of the line. These groups of people are what has made the internet what it is today, and these groups of people are the ones that will hurt the most by it. Bringing the government in on the action is also a touchy subject. If a government regulates the internet completely, it would act in much the same way as having corporations own it. Only the regulations would be on every ISP and not just one, so we wouldn't have choice in the matter. So how do we protect net neutrality then? First of all, our government needs to understand that the internet is more than just a technology or commodity. The internet has become a vital piece of Canada's social and economic infrastructure, and the government of all organizations should know this. This infrastructure is growing too rapidly to ignore any longer, and it needs an overhaul in terms of new laws and principles. We need to take action like we needed to with the other neutral infrastructures like electricity, railways, and telephone. These laws need to address the competition in internet content and applications, minimalizing denial of entry, and promoting web innovation and free speech on the internet. It is up to the Canadian people to demand that their government start viewing the internet as more than just a valuable business proposition.